Welcome back to the Words from the Nerds podcast. I'm once again joined by Ben, and we are ecstatic today to bring you the finale of The Road to Kenobi with Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Look, I absolutely love this movie. There's no way else I can put it. I think I think it fixes its mistakes on, episode 1 and 2 and just throws everything out there and just, ends it on a big, setting everything up and giving us everything we wanted. So I'm super excited to talk about this today. Do you have any thoughts that you want to, start us out with?
I'm excited to talk about this too because even if I don't think that it's quite like the most well-made Star Wars episode, it is my favorite, and I love this movie so much. And this was the one that I was like most looking forward to rewatching. So I'm ready. I'm ready to get into it and talk about this movie. It's amazing.
Dude, me too. I mean, I guess we can just get into it. From the opening scene, that is probably one of the coolest shots I've ever seen in Star Wars. Just like it's real quiet, and I don't think that's a starter story. It has to be some other big shit, but we get started and it's just like, quiet, just big shit. But you kind of think we're just gonna be like we're gonna cut into like a scene inside the ship, right? Like episode 1 kind of did. And then we go over, we see 2 ships, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they're gonna park in there and go through, walk around inside. And then it's just all out, like just ships everywhere, everyone fighting. It was insane. I remember when I first watched this movie, that was like one of the coolest scenes I had ever seen. Did I know your eyes lit up as soon as I mentioned that? Did you want to
Yeah. Oh my
elaborate?
gosh. I love one shots in movie, especially when they can pull it off extremely well. And this one, like you said, you don't expect it to be what it is. But especially it's we see the two ships and then they like go down past the Venator and we see the battlefield. This like massive reveal. And I love that buildup of like the quiet space that we've been so used to like for so long with Star Wars movies, even back all the way to A New Hope. And like this is just such a cool opening sequence. And I think it's phenomenal. Like it's my second favorite space battle in all of Star Wars is the one at the beginning of this
Wow.
episode. I would say so. I don't know if that's like a hot take, but it's my
I can
second favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. I mean, not only is it just like action packed, but it kind of like starts us off on the big theme of the movie, which is like Anakin's conflict with Obi-Wan and like with the Jedi. I mean, there's a quick shot where he's one of the store or one of the clone troopers are they're in trouble and they need help, and Anakin's like, I'm gonna go help them, and Obi-Wan's like, no, we got to stick to like what we're supposed to do. And it just shows that Anakin's already feeding into his emotions and like his attachments, whereas Obi-Wan's just sticking with the Jedi, code. And so, yeah, I could definitely see that. I think I'd agree with that. It's up there for me too. It was such a cool scene up until like the moment they like barely make it in,
Yeah.
and they hop out of their ships. I mean, even that, like the CGI wasn't bad at all. Like
No, it
they
wasn't.
stepped it up big time because as soon as Obi-Wan jumps and flips out, I was like, wow, that's a really big step up from like what we've been used to the past 2 episodes. So, we're
Yeah.
jumping straight into this. So,
I wanted to say one thing
yeah,
because you
yeah,
brought
go
it up.
ahead. Go ahead.
The thing about Anakin wanting to go and help the clone, what I think was really cool about that specific moment is that we saw something really similar happen in episode 2 towards the end with Padme when she falls out of the gunship,
Yeah.
where he wants to put the ship down and help her, but then Obi-Wan says like we have a job to do, we must stick to the code type of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a cool theme that they've played multiple times throughout a couple of these episodes. So yes,
Yeah.
I definitely love the character moments on top of just the really cool action opening sequence. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah. It's really cool. And you find a lot of these character moments like littered out throughout this movie. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. So, I think we kind of already like maybe we haven't touched on it a bit, but I'll touch on it right now with like kind of some of the gripes I had with the movie. And I mean, there's not a lot, but we talked about how the CGI did step up a bit, but there were also some times where it just like wasn't that good. I know there's a lot of times where like characters were fighting, actors were fighting, and you could clearly see that it was just like a computer generated face, and it looked like a video game. So that, I mean, it's still spotty, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, it doesn't take me out of the movie at all, and it's a huge step up from, you know, episode 1 and episode 2. And once again, just like the dialogue. But even that, we can talk about, like, we can compare that to the CGI, to where some of the dialogue isn't that bad, mainly between, I'm talking about Anakin and Padme, because when they first reunite, um, it's not bad at all. Like, you know, talking about the pregnancy, I didn't think it was, you know, that bad. And then we have scenes where it's like, "You're so beautiful." Those are like kind of rough, but yeah, I mean, those were just, and that's just stuff we've seen throughout all the movies. You know, 1, 2, and 3. We've been talking about CGI and dialogue, and some pacing. So I know you've had a big problem with the pacing. Was there anything? Did you have a problem with it this episode, or did you think it got better?
So I want to kind of tackle all three of the things that you brought up. I'll start
Go
with the
ahead.
pacing. The
Yeah.
pacing I found was much better. I think they had a little bit of hints of it towards the end, where we
Hmm.
had the battle on Mustafar, which again is like
Yeah.
peak Star Wars, and then it would cut back to like Yoda versus Palpatine, which, granted, I loved that we at least got a really good scene that they were cutting back and forth from, rather
Yeah.
than just something that was trying to be like a romance, like in episode 2.
Yeah.
So I did like parts of it. I still think like maybe just the tiniest bit, but not even enough where it like made the movie worse, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And then dialogue wise, yeah, I think it's a step up from the last two films, but still not amazing. CGI, I feel like in some areas was phenomenal. Like,
Yes.
especially Mustafar, there was a scene specifically, and it's when I don't remember which part exactly, but they have like this giant lava burst coming up behind them. I think it's in I think it's in some of the posters. Like,
Yeah.
it's a
Is it?
super iconic shot.
Yeah. They're like kind of, they're not, they don't have the lightsabers against each other, but they
Yeah,
like kind
yeah,
of like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That scene when it shoots up behind them, it looked phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
I was so impressed with Mustafar, and of course I remember that being like, one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars was their duel. And so like getting to that point, I was curious how the CGI was going to look. I was very impressed by that scene and most of the other things in the movie, with some exceptions. A lot of it had to do with like characters and clones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of the overuse, but honestly, they stepped it up a lot. You're definitely right in that regard that it looks way better.
Yeah, I definitely caught it very very soon. Like I said, as soon as the ships go in and they flip out, and then honestly that whole scene, like there was, like when Dooku flips off the top of the thing, like it's not terror, it's not as bad as it would be if it was like episode 1 or 2, but it's definitely like a step up. And from when they land in there, really the space battle, we could start there, from that all the way to, you know, that just that whole opening scene. Um, you could definitely tell they stepped it up a lot. So I was impressed. You know, I thought it was really cool. Were there any negatives you wanted to like kind of knock off to start off with?
I think it's not really a negative, but I think I brought this up in episode 2 as well, where there were things that I remember differently from like the last time that I watched it, or like remember more fondly from like my childhood viewings of the movies.
Hmm.
So for me in this movie, it was the lightsaber duels, the first one with Count Dooku and the one of Yoda and Palpatine. They are a lot quicker than I remember. At least for
Okay.
me, I remember them being a lot longer and a lot cooler than they were. So I kind of like got my hopes up for it, and then it felt like it went by really quickly. But
Yeah.
that's not like, I guess that's not like a nitpick. It's more just for me personally. I kind of expected a little bit more from those, but I still like, other than the couple things that have been issues before that they improved upon very heavily, those are like the only real issues that I had with the movie. I can't think of anything else that like bothered me or stuck out. I think they did an amazing job with this film.
Yeah. I agree. It's one of my favorite Star Wars films. It's not. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely my favorite, hands down. I've watched this movie so many times. It's like my comfort movie. That and like Thor Ragnarok. I remember I'd always just throw those on, just if I had nothing to watch on YouTube. So yeah, I'm obsessed with this movie. So I guess we can get into all the positives and things we liked. So I want to start with something that it's kind of like a question also. I'll get into it and then I'll ask a question. I want to know, like, I like how in episode 1 we can kind of like the general consensus, right? In episode 1 we see Anakin leave his mom. He leaves his mom for the Jedi. We know he's going to become Vader. We can say, okay, that's a big point, Anakin leaving his mom. Episode 2 comes, Anakin has to see his mom die and then has to kill all the Tuskens and is just feeding into his anger. And I think that's the big moment. There's other moments like, falling in love with Padme. So I think the two big moments is his mom dying and falling in love with Padme. In this one, it's the council. The council treats him horribly, and I feel like is is the biggest reason why he turned to the dark side. So that's from like rewatching this, that's what I got from it. What do you think was Anakin's like big, what do you think pushed him the most out of all of those we've seen?
I feel like I forget the exact quote from ObiWan, but he says it when they first meet on Mustafar, basically saying that he did it to himself because I think it was a lot of his own ambition because he was power hungry.
Yeah.
He was told that he was the chosen one and told that he was going to be all of these things. So when he's not given permission to do a lot and not given the same respect as some of the other Jedi, I think that's what started to push him a lot.
Hmm.
And you're right that it's like it's the council and it's him because it's what the council is doing, but also he could have a different response to it and it would not necessarily cause him to go down the path that he does.
Yeah.
So it is caused by the council, but it's also his own choice after the council has made those decisions.
Yeah.
So I think that he, if he wasn't so ambitious and prideful and arrogant, that it could have had a different outcome. But I definitely think that it's a buildup of the anger and all the things that he's been told and all the things that he's experienced through these last couple of episodes, where this has just started to push him to think that he's more than he is given credit for,
Yeah.
and that he should be more, and that he's going to be the most powerful Jedi, and all of these things like in his own mind that have been building up for the last couple of episodes, where like if anybody tries to go against him in any way, like he's just going to get pushed further and further to thinking that he's the best. So
Yeah.
I think the council did play a factor, but I think there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, there is a lot. I feel like the council was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And a good scene was when a lot of people like to say that like when Palpatine and Anakin first talk when they're watching that like play or whatever it is, that's kind of the moment he starts to kind of turn into Vader, that, and then getting denied by the council of everything that they denied him of. But I think it's interesting because when he goes to meet with Sidious before he tells them, or before he finds out that he's a Sith, he still turns Palpatine in. He wants him to face justice, and he even tells Mace Windu that he's like, he's a Dark Lord, and Windu doesn't let him go. He's like, no, stay here. And you could chalk it up to two things. If Anakin would have just stayed, things could have gone completely different. Sidious gets the justice he deserves, and that's it. Maybe something else happens down the line, whatever. But Anakin still has the right heart in this moment. He still has a good heart of wanting to turn him in. But Mace Windu doesn't let him go. He says, no, you need to stay here. And if what you said is right, we'll talk when I get back. But not only that, Anakin should have just stayed. He should have just stayed. because ultimately, I mean, we know like Mace Windu wanted to kill Palpatine right there, and Anakin stopped him. So it was very interesting seeing that like Anakin still had a good heart up until his last moments. His last words as Anakin Skywalker are like, "What have I done?"
Hmm.
He knows he's messed up. It's just at this point, it's too far to turn back, and so the fall of Anakin Skywalker is one of my favorite stories ever. Like I love this movie. I could talk about it forever. I do want to compare him to, and this is something recent. I just finished this show, and so I want to kind of compare it to this. It's two completely different like pieces of content. So we have Walter White in Breaking Bad, right?
I knew you were
just
gonna
click
say
with me.
that.
Everyone's sick. Everyone's turning off their phone right now. They're like, "Oh my god." Walter White in Breaking Bad and Anakin Skywalker. The main thing is spoilers for Breaking Bad. If you haven't seen it, it's not huge spoilers, but okay. Walter, he starts tampering in like the drug business and the empire business because he wants to leave money behind for his family. So throughout the whole show, you're left thinking, okay, he's doing this for his family, and you're on his side. You're taking his side up until the very end. And you say he's doing this for his family. It's good, and you keep that in your mind up until the very end, where he literally tells his wife at the end. He says, "You have to understand, I did this for," and then she cuts him off, and she says, "If I have to hear that one more time, that you did this for family." And he says, "No, I did it for me. I liked it and I was good at it. And it was the only time that I ever felt alive." And so as the audience, you kind of step back and you're like, wow, like this isn't, the Walter White we've been rooting for. He's something completely different. And, as time went on, as he got more evil and evil and evil and the messed up things he did, you can't justify it no more. And that's kind of what happens to Anakin. He keeps telling himself, "I'm doing this for Padme. I want to keep her alive. I'm doing this to keep her alive." And then up until the very end, where he tells her, he's like, "We can rule the galaxy. With my new powers, we can take over, and we could rule, everything." And she kind of steps back, and her acting in that scene was phenomenal. It was amazing.
Hmm.
Like the way she's just crying, and I felt the emotion. Like, and that's something that was kind of that George Lucas couldn't really do in the first two episodes. But like, I felt that right there because she's like, "I don't know you. You're going down a path I can't follow." And Anakin's just, he's too far gone at this moment. And we see that as like ObiWan steps out, and we have that big speech. But yeah, I couldn't help but like keep thinking about that because I've been consuming a ton of Breaking Bad content and like video essays um, about the finale and everything about it, and just how good of a character Walter White is. And so as soon as I heard Anakin, say that to Padme again, I was like, oh man, this is, it's identical. It's just character study on just both these characters, and so I thought that was really cool because, you know, as the audience, you're telling yourself, well, he's doing this to save his wife. He's doing this to save his wife. We saw what happened with his mom, so we're on his side. And then the last scene, he's choking his pregnant wife, and because she won't join him in taking over the galaxy, and it's just you kind of just can't, keep apologizing for him after that, and I thought that was a really cool, little scene and just that little moment of dialogue right there.
Oh yeah, I love that scene. It's probably like that up to the end is like one of my favorite whole sequences of Star Wars, just emotion wise,
Yeah,
because you have the scene with Padme, which you're right that we have been rooting for him because he does so many things for the people that he loves. Even back, with his mother dying, he killed the Tuscans, and now with Padme, he was willing to kill younglings, and even he would go as far as to kill like actual Jedi. Like
yeah,
he would go so far for the people that he loved. And in that moment, it's where he goes too far and we realize that it's his own ambition. He's not doing it for her, he's doing it for himself, but he wants her to be there with him. And
yeah,
if she's not willing to be there, then she's just in the way too. And in this case,
Yeah.
he was willing to kill her as well just to get to that point. And it's such a good scene
Yeah.
emotionally. And even though there have been a lot of moments of cringy dialogue the last couple of episodes, that line from Padme I thought actually was very powerful. Though you're going down
Yeah.
a path I can't follow, that to me was really impactful, and I thought that was such a beautiful line that like summarized so much, that like she wants the best for him and she wants to be there for him,
Yeah.
but he's gone too far. And part of you, even though you know he has to become Darth Vader, part of
Hmm.
you is hoping that that line is going to get him to snap out of it and realize what he's done
Yeah.
and that everything's going to work out. But
Yeah.
we know that can't happen. So I think
Yeah.
it's such an effective moment in the movie. And I love that, and I love his character. His character specifically in this movie is so fascinating, and it's interesting because it feels like he's alone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in this
Yeah.
movie, everything that is happening between him and the Jedi Council and with Palpatine, like he is going through his own struggles and his own stuff that no other Jedi is going through, and it's really fascinating to get to witness like his inner conflict, because between Padme, Palpatine, the Council, he just has this like interesting combination of what's happening only to him. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see, because we get to see that internal struggle, and ultimately we get to see that kind of push him further and further throughout this movie. And it's great. His character, I love it.
Yeah.
Specifically in this movie. I think the last couple of movies, he hasn't had too much development. I think that it's more so like the hints to get to this point. This
Yeah.
has been the bulk of like the stuff that I find the most interesting for his character.
Yeah. I totally agree. One thing I also want to talk about in regards to like the character building and like the foreshadowing is the shadows of the movie played a big part, because I realized that well, the shadows and the colors, because one, Anakin, I don't think there's ever a shot in the movie where he's not wearing black, where he's not, fully dressed in black. And of course, like when they first touch down, it's Coruscant, right, that they touch down on, after the big
After,
space battle at the beginning of the movie.
yeah, I believe.
Coruscant, right?
I mean, I know they kind of crash land and then it just like
Yeah,
cuts. I
yeah,
I
yeah.
think so, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
let's say it's Coruscant. So when they
Yeah.
first get there, like we see Anakin and Padme, and they're talking in the shadows. Anytime that Anakin is talking to like Obi-Wan, he's always kind of like a shadows cast over him, and Obi-Wan's in the light. Another scene is with Yoda and Anakin after Anakin has the dreams. There's shadow. I guess it's like the blinds, and so
Hmm.
it's just lines of like shadow and light on both of them. And I think the most significant one is the last time Anakin and Obi-Wan talk before Obi-Wan goes to
Utapau.
Utapau, and when they're talking and Obi-Wan says, "Goodbye, my old friend, and may the force be with you," Anakin's completely like where he's at is completely like shadowed, and Obi-Wan is just in the bright like sun. And so it seems like every time you see Anakin, he's like just he has like this darkness on him, and it just kind of grows over the movie up until like the last scene with both of their the big speech, and the it looks like like a hell that they're fighting at, and it's very emotional. But there was a lot of like foreshadowing throughout the movie that kind of told you like where this was going to go, and that this wasn't going to be a bright fun movie like Attack of the Clones was. So I thought that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, I like specifically the scene in the Jedi Temple with Yoda. What you brought up with the blinds is how it was like a mixture of light and dark, because
Yeah.
that's right after he had the dreams about Padme dying. And that's when he was like kind of willing to seek out these other powers to like try to save people from death. In this case,
Yeah.
that led him to Palpatine, and that led him like that pushed him to kind of wanting to learn more about the dark side. So I think that's a cool way of like he had a moment of conflict that he wanted to learn things that he knows that he shouldn't, and we got to see like the light and dark together on him because it's showing
Yeah.
his inner conflict, even with Yoda saying like you need to detach yourself from the ones that you care about, like feelings are dangerous type of thing. And Anakin is just saying like, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I won't
Yeah.
let this come true. And I like that they visualize the conflict, and in a lot of the other scenes, visualizing the inner darkness that he is going through. It's really cool. It's such a small attention to detail, but I think it's so effective, even though it's subtle.
Hmm.
It's so effective.
Yeah.
And I think they've done that pretty well throughout like most of this trilogy, is where they'll have like little nods to things for why he would become Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Some more obvious and some not. But like they've done a good job of playing into those things. I guess the most relatable thing that we could bring up is like when they've played the Imperial March that has
Yeah.
been used throughout this trilogy, and what it was, I think it was more prominent in this movie than
Yeah.
the last two. So
Yeah, for
the
sure.
little details like that, they have definitely gone a long way in helping with the character development.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like the themes because I did or I picked up the Force theme in the scene with Palpatine, Anakin, and Mace in Palpatine's throne room, but this time it was like more sinister and it was deeper. It wasn't the da-na-na-na, like the bright. It was lower. And speaking on what I like the first episode we did about like the Force saying like I'm here, it was interesting. While that might have been like a huge reach, it was still interesting that they decided to bring it in right here, but just take it all the way down, kind of saying as like this isn't the Force's brightest moment, but it's still very, very real here. And also the Imperial March behind Anakin getting crowned as Vader. So it's just a lot of sinister moments, that were just like it's heartbreaking because like the Force theme, anytime you hear it, it's a really nice, uplifting. Like I think it's one of the best themes in Star Wars, or at least one of my favorites. And just to hear it here, knowing everything that's about to happen and knowing why it's taken down a little bit and why it sounds so sinister is it's kind of like just speaking words with um without saying anything, and on the topic of that, I know Book of Boba Fett does it amazingly. And I think episode 4, I think he tells Fennec Shan, we have the credits, we just need the muscle. And then you
Yeah,
just hear
yeah.
da-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, and it's
Yeah.
just sick, dude. It's
Yeah.
sick.
What I'm short on is muscle.
Credits can buy muscle, if you know where to look.
Because you know what's coming, but they don't have to say that, oh, let's get the Mandalorian. No, like you
Yeah.
just play that man's theme and you'll have everyone freaking out. So
Yeah.
and on the topic of sinister themes, the Order 66 theme also is just
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking, I didn't realize how sad it was until hearing it again.
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean the last time that I saw anything from Order 66 was actually the Book of Boba Fett
Yeah, yeah.
episode. I think it would have been 5 or 6. No,
Maybe
6,
yeah,
right?
6 because we see Grogu, yeah.
Yeah. Episode 6 it would have been. You just start to remember like how terrible Order 66 actually was. But then when you get to the scene in this movie, it's wild. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. There was a part of me that felt a little bit of joy in this scene, and I need to explain why, because that sounds weird. That sounds really weird.
Oh no.
The thing that brought me joy is seeing all of the different clone legions, and this is going to
Mm.
sound oddly specific, but what I've loved is seeing them appear in like Lego form. I know this sounds crazy, but like we see, the 501st, the blue clone troopers obviously being iconic with Anakin, and we seeing all these different clone troopers. And I even saw some legions that I'm like, oh, we don't have those in Lego yet. Like, that would be awesome if we could get
Oh
those.
yeah.
So it's just like we see a lot of variety in the troopers that I would love to see in Lego form.
Yeah.
I know that's like a weird thing to think about during the Order
Yeah.
66 scene. Maybe I was just like, my brain was grasping at like any spark of
Yeah.
hope that I could think of. But yes, that scene very impactful. And yeah, all the themes. I know we brought up before that like the Force theme was very intentionally used for like when the Force was moving and working and changing.
Yeah.
And so in this case, it being dropped down is like it's still the Force saying like I'm here, but it's not the like bright, happy Force that we're
Yeah.
used to when Anakin was first, learning about becoming a Jedi and everything. It's that turning point. It's
Yeah.
another development in how the Force is working within him. So
Yeah.
very, very effective use of music throughout this whole movie. I think music wise, like this whole trilogy has been phenomenal, like
Yeah.
amazing. And I would even say that like it lives up to even the originals, which you can't say that
Yeah.
about much within this
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah.
But music wise, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Star Wars kills it with their themes. I can't tell you how much times I've listened to Boba Fett's theme just on repeat and just like jammed it in my car just because it's just so nice. And yeah, like I said, when they tell a story just using, Mandalorian's theme. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Speaking of the Mandalorian, I did see a little parallel with Yoda and Grogu. So I forgot what episode it was, but I think it was definitely Mandalorian season 2. And Grogu's in this little like it's like this kind of like hole. He's in a tight space trying to fix something, right?
Yeah.
And like the Mandalorian's talking to him throughout the hole, and then after Yoda escapes Sidious, he's crawling through a little hole the same way. And so I just thought it was real funny. I mean, obviously they might not have done it intentionally, but I thought it was funny just seeing them two like in the same kind of electric hole surrounded by wires and metal and stuff. So thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. It's a cool little detail because they're so different in the context of the
Yeah.
situations, but yeah, there's some similarities there.
There's something. I do want to talk about in the midst of how good the moment was with Anakin and Padme and ObiWan, like their big speech and everything. I thought it was hilarious the way Anakin and Padme are talking, and it just pans up to Obi-Wan with his hands on his hips, and he's just standing at the top of the ship like this. It just cracked me up for some reason because I could just like imagine a whole bunch of memes being made.
Has
out of
that
it.
been a meme format? I
I
was
think
literally
so.
just thinking like that would be an amazing meme
Yeah.
format. It could be one of those things where it's a classic meme format that's been used all the time where it's like you're picturing one scenario and then this unexpected thing happens
Yeah.
and shows up to like ruin your day. And in this case, it's Obi-Wan just chilling there.
Dude, that scene was hilarious because he's just like it's such a serious moment, but he's up there like that, and it's just it cracked me up. But speaking about like memes and everything, this is easily like without a doubt the most memeable Star Wars movie and like the whole franchise. So, with that being said, I want to know what your favorite meme is from this movie.
Oh gosh. I noticed a lot of them. I should have written them down. The one that I hear the most that I really like is I love democracy. Or no, it's not is it I love democracy? What's the word?
Who's
Maybe
saying
that's
it?
is that from episode 2? It might be from another episode. Dang it. Cuz
Dang,
I see I'll even see like random posts somewhere and I'm like a great comment would be like I love democracy and I open up the comment section and I see I love democracy with like 5,000 likes and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Dude, no, I don't know. I don't think I've heard that one. I think I've seen them in the comments, but I don't think I can't remember.
I need to make sure that I'm not going crazy. It is from Palpatine, but it's from episode 2. Dang it.
Really?
Yeah, but it is
Wow.
that's a really good one. Gosh, what's a good one from this episode? I mean, I feel like there's so many that I can't even remember
Yeah.
them. Obviously, I have the high ground. That's
Yeah.
been like memed to death. Oh shoot! How would you should give me some,
Yeah.
and then I'll tell you like what ones I love.
So my favorite is "Hello There."
Oh yes, of course, of
But
course.
there's a lot. There's a lot with Obi-Wan as well. But I like when he kills Grievous, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. But when he kills Grievous, and he's like, he drops the gun, and he's like so uncivilized, right? And then, um, oh wow, I'm starting to blank too. I like they're all like playing in my head, but I just like there's just so much of them. Like Palpatine when he's like, do it, you know.
Yeah, the Palpatine do it.
There's just so much good one. This is where the fun begins. That one.
Yes. Okay. I think I thought of one.
Okay, good. Give me
I
that.
don't know if you've ever seen these videos, but they were some of my favorite videos on YouTube where they would take the prequels and like hyper edit them with like memes and everything.
I think I've seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came
So
across
for the
it.
episode 3 one, they did an edit because it's whatever, I don't know the exact line, but it's when Grievous like insults Anakin when they first meet.
Oh
And then when
yeah.
Anakin comes back and doesn't he say like, I expected you to be taller or something like that. And I just remember like after that scene played out in this like edited YouTube video, they did the whole like crowd cheering like oh you know like the freak out crowd and like the shaking and everything.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
That it's funny you bring that up because there's like 3 right there. I've seen a lot of like the Negotiator, and they're like a lot of like I don't know how to explain it. Just like all these meme pages would make them, and they'd be like when your
Yeah.
mom is mad at you, but your grandma comes to your defense. It's like the Negotiator.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
obviously when he hits Grievous with a short joke, where he's like, you're much shorter than I thought you'd be. And then when he gets the lightsabers, he's like, this would make a fine addition to my collection.
Oh,
And
of
there's that one
course,
too.
of course.
There's so much, but I think
Gee,
the one
wow.
that takes the cake for me is probably Hello There. Like
Yeah.
I always say that. I wanted to actually start the podcast saying that, like,
Oh
hello
shoot.
there,
We missed
welcome
our
back to the.
opportunity.
But yeah, maybe it'll come in the future. I don't know, but
We'll have to do it for the Kenobi show.
yeah,
Every discussion we have has to start with hello
and we
there.
both had to say it at the same time.
And okay,
Hello
bold
there.
prediction, he's gonna say it in the show at some point.
Yeah.
He has
Well,
to.
there we go. That's one meme I'd want to see. Either that or like the high ground. I feel like they have to bring one of those in. I mean, they already did it in the Clone Wars, right? With Grievous, because Grievous told Kenobi, "Hello there," and I guess kind of like you can say Kenobi got it from him, but really Grievous,
Yeah.
whatever timeline
I
you want
love
to
the
think of.
hello there. That's
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello there is great. I like the do it as well. Just
Do
because
it.
the voice.
Yeah.
Do it. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, them 3 stole the spotlight this episode. Palpatine, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. But I do want to comment on Grievous because I think he has the coolest death in all of Star Wars. Like that was just amazing. The way like he burns up from the inside, and there's like fire coming out of his eyes.
Yeah.
And then he just. But I thought that scene was really cool. I didn't remember it being like that awesome, and like even their whole fight is like really cool. Him and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I really have always loved Grievous, and I almost wish that he could have been more of like a Count Dooku, where he has been around for more episodes. Because while he is a really cool addition to the first half of this movie, he's only in the first half of this movie, and that's all we get to see him. Obviously, we see him more in the Clone Wars and stuff, but I still feel like he's one of those characters that would have been awesome to see before this and just like for a longer period of time. And I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere, because people always get that like some people have the mentality that like Star Wars is for kids.
Yeah.
And I love it when people make the edits where it's like someone says Star Wars is for kids and then they like show a bunch of gruesome, crazy stuff that happens in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the Grievous death is already gruesome, but I don't know. Have you seen the concept art for the Grievous death?
No, I haven't.
I saw it pop up like within the last few weeks I think on TikTok or something, in like that format of Star Wars being for kids.
Oh wow.
And I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be even more gruesome than it ended up
Wow.
being. I forget exactly what it was. I wish I knew. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Grievous fight is really cool. Obviously, the four lightsabers and him being, a robot, like all of that is amazing. I
Yeah.
remember being a kid and I was just like obsessed with him and his fighting style. I feel like
Yeah.
he went out a little bit quicker than I would have liked. Like
Yeah.
even very quickly into their fight when Obi-Wan like cut off two of his hands, I was just like, no, I wanted to see, four
Yeah.
lightsabers. And he
Yeah, I
was like
agree.
the most fun character to play in Lego Star Wars, if
Yeah.
that
Yeah, and
counts
then
for
like
anything.
when he gets on all fours and like starts crawling,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a very like I don't know, you could do a lot like with his character. You could even like
Yeah.
make something up down the road. Like let's say they kept him. You could just like give him like I don't know, some weird ability that only he has, or like give him something crazy he can do with his like body, you know? Like they threw another two arms in there towards the like middle of the movie, like, keep him around and give him something else. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Grievous is an awesome character, but he had to be sacrificed or else the movie would have been real cluttered, Same with like Dooku. Just kind of got to get rid of him at the beginning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um speaking on Dooku, Obi-Wan kind of in a certain way, he kind of reminds me of Dooku in this movie because he obviously knows Anakin's conflicted, Anakin has his flaws, but he instead of just straight up like treating him the way the council does, he kind of like feels bad for him. Like you can see whenever they tell him to take a seat, and when they're just like berating him at the council, Obi-Wan kind of just like looks over and he feels bad for him, and that's his Padawan, that's his brother that he calls him. And so it kind of like he didn't want to kill Anakin, obviously, because he doesn't. He leaves him there. Maybe he thought he had him killed, and so he left him, but he just feels bad throughout the whole movie, and he like you can tell he's just blaming himself for everything. He even tells Anakin like, "I failed you," and it kind of reminded me of like the same way Dooku told them the plan. He's like, "Look, come on, like just help me out here, trust me," and they didn't, and so he kind of reminded me of Dooku in a way. Like they shared some of the same characteristics in this movie, in you know in the way of like that he kind of feels bad for his opponent. He shares some of the same insights that they do. So I thought that was pretty cool, seeing that Obi-Wan, and I hope that does kind of come back in the show, because Obi-Wan, he didn't want to kill Anakin. And he even said, "I'll go kill the Emperor, and I promise I won't kill Anakin." And then eventually he settles on, just ending it where it is. But yeah, I feel really bad for him. He went through a lot in this movie, especially looking through the security recordings.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard not to feel bad for him.
Yeah, you brought up his similarity to Dooku, but I would also say he had a lot of similarities to Anakin. And a line that I think summarized it very well was when they meet on Mustafar and Obi-Wan says, "I'll do what I must." And
Yeah,
I think that was kind of a theme that they brought up a lot in this movie was for Anakin killing Dooku, he was doing it because he thought that he had to. And like Obi-Wan was okay with it.
yeah,
Obi-Wan, killing Grievous, he did it because he had to. Obi-Wan being willing to kill Emperor Palpatine. Like they were doing it because that's what they felt like they had to do. And then at the end of the movie, with how the conflict built, then it became we must fight each other and we will do what we must. It's just that
yeah,
we are no longer in agreement with one another. And so
yeah,
they kind of have similar motives of like, I'm doing what I have to do for my own goal. In this case, Obi-Wan made it very clear he's loyal to the council, he's loyal to the Republic, whereas Anakin is loyal to the Emperor, loyal to himself.
yeah,
And so even though they have the same individual goals, the way that they specifically play out eventually like built up and were in conflict with one another. So I also think he had a lot of similarities to Anakin throughout this movie. it just got to that point of conflict with one another where in their minds what they had to do was one of them had to kill the other.
Yeah, I like that. I like that comparison, because they very much are like kind of the same, or if not the same person, share the same characteristics throughout the movie. They're just, one is passionate for what they're passionate for, and if it comes down to it, they'll both do what they must for what they believe in. So I definitely agree with that. So we all know that Clone Wars season 7 plays into this, and it plays into Revenge of the Sith, the events at least. And I noticed that the little meeting room where I believe it's Yoda, Mace, and Ki-Adi-Mundi, maybe someone else, I don't know, but I realized that Mace Windu was like a jerk to Ahsoka in that scene in the Clone Wars episode, where he tells her like this is a Jedi matter or whatever, and like I guess if you're no Jedi, then get out of here. But he's also like a jerk to Anakin, and so I don't know. It made it really hard to like Mace Windu in this movie. I definitely wasn't a fan
Yeah.
of him at all.
And I love Mace Windu. Like I know that there have been talks with even Samuel L. Jackson in interviews of like, would you ever return? Which of course his answer is yes.
Yeah.
He's been in like 200 movies and he'll do anything. So I think I believe in my heart that they could easily bring him back if they're able to bring back plenty of other characters that they have before for different shows and stuff. But yeah, in this movie, I feel like he was one of those characters where he was similar to some of the other characters where he's very devoted to like the Republic and to doing what he must do.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where he doesn't always show empathy towards others. Whereas like Obi-Wan is loyal to the Republic, but he was willing to show empathy towards Anakin because he was his Padawan. Whereas Mace Windu, he doesn't feel like he has that obligation to anybody else. This is what is, factually right, factually true. This is how things are. And like, he's not going to stray away from that just to like try to cater towards the emotions of really what, in this case, like two kind of kids in both situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think while it might, it's weird because you're right that he's not a very likable character, but he's also doing exactly what a Jedi is supposed to do in a way.
Yeah.
So it's that weird like balance of, I don't know, almost like somebody who's bossing you around, or even like a boss. Like
Yeah.
if your boss is telling you what to do and you don't like it because they're, not doing it in a proper way emotionally, they're still doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So it is that interesting kind of weird situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's good and bad to it, because like I understand, because the character, their allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy, and so I get it, but at the same time, just seeing how like blind they were, and seeing how like they were like kind of too stubborn to admit that like what they were doing kind of like was troubling Anakin, and like in a way they were kind of like starting to be the reason that he was starting to be troubled. Them being blind about that, it just kind of like makes you shake your head, at all the Jedi, so yeah, there's good and bad. I get it, but at the same time I'm like, come on, like Dooku literally, I'll never let that go. Dooku literally told you his whole entire plan, bro. Like, what are you doing? So, oh well. One thing I do want to bring up is going back to like Anakin turning Sith. What was the deal with like his? Because I think Anakin, like with Sith eyes, he looked menacing. He looked insane, and he kind of like just like gets them, loses them, and then gets them again towards the end. So like I wonder like why didn't he have them with like, I understand whenever he first gets, the name Lord Vader, but after he gets them the first time, why doesn't he keep them for the whole, end of the movie, like for his whole fight on Mustafar with Obi-Wan? Why doesn't he have Sith eyes the whole time?
I feel like a lot of it is he's still conflicted. Like there are a lot of reasons to why he, is completely devoted now to the dark side, but like even with Padme and everything, I'm sure it wasn't like an immediate switch, because he had his moment, with Palpatine, but even then he was still feeling regret for killing Mace Windu.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just like an internal conflict thing. I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention to know if they like specifically had it in certain scenes and didn't to tie into the story. But at least from my recollection, like the times that he didn't, because it was pretty obvious when he did, obviously. Like they
Yeah.
made that very clear. From the times that he didn't was the times where he was like interacting with the things that would like hold him from fully going over to the dark side. Because like when he had them, he was with Palpatine, becoming Darth Vader, and when he had them towards the end, like I feel like they were used in specific moments from what I remember, just for like the situation that he was in and the characters around him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm still kind of conflicted on it. Because they did this in Return of the Jedi as well with Darth Vader, and it's when he finds out Padme is dead and he just lets out a big like no, like what are your thoughts on that? Because I don't know if I like it. I don't know if like I understand why they did it. He lost the love of his life, but like
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it was a little bit too much.
I mean,
And yeah, let me know what you think.
well, I think it would be fine under a different context. For the scene that they specifically put it in, I think that like him, breaking everything around him and stuff like that, that is such a menacing scene. To end it with a scream like that, to me, like undermined how the
Yeah,
rest of the scene was playing out. So I feel like under a different context, I would have been fine with the scream. But with that specific scene, it didn't feel fitting. I still didn't feel like it was terrible. Like it didn't stick
yeah,
out. It didn't stick out too much, in my opinion.
interesting. Yeah, I thought it was like a little much. I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, like yeah, it would have been cool if he would have just like crushed everything around him and just fell to his knees, but just stayed silent the whole time, just kind of like held it all in and used the force to like show his anger instead of like saying a big no. But they also added that in Return of the Jedi when he kills Palpatine. When Palpatine's getting Luke with the lightning and he picks him up and he throws them. They went back in the original movie. He didn't say no and throw him. He just threw him without saying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But they went back in and they added him saying no, for whatever reason in there too. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like both scenes would have been better. Just silent Vader, but
Yeah, and I think it's a general thing with movies that if they can do a better job of showing emotions than just straight up like expressing them or telling you them, then it can usually be a more effective way to tell the story, depending on how it's done. And I think in this case, yeah, it would have been a lot both cooler and more effective if he was just like destroying everything around him and we just like see how angry he's getting and then we just leave it at that, him
yeah,
building up this rage and this anger. We don't need anything else to like convey the story to us.
yeah,
And so I think it was unnecessary and it would have been more effective without it.
yeah. I agree. And leading up to that, we get Anakin being carried in to get nursed, and then we have Padme giving birth. And I thought those two parallels were really cool because we see Padme and she's in a bright room, about to give birth, and she's around all these light side users, and then we turn and we see Anakin burn like in this dark planet with it's rainy. uh Palpatine's walking alongside him with a whole bunch of clone troopers, and it just kind of like it shows him and then it switches to her. And I just thought it was kind of like a cool parallel. They're both hurt, they're both injured, they're both going to get nursed, and honestly, they both die. Anakin dies right there, and
Mm-hmm.
Padme dies right there, and so, well, Anakin dies for the moment. He comes back
Yes.
in Return of the Jedi, but yeah, I thought that was a very sad little scene. Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember what we talked about at the end of episode 2? with the two scenes that played out of like it was obviously the wedding, and then it was like the clone troopers with Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about those two scenes being significant for the story and everything. And this is kind of like a mirror of that in a way, where in that scene you had the wedding with Anakin and Padme on the light side with things working out.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
Palpatine and the clones on the dark side. And now look at where it's developed. Like the two
Yeah.
parallel scenes are now Padme giving birth to their children, which ties into the wedding,
Yeah.
and now Anakin joining Palpatine in the dark side with the clones. So it's cool that it's a mirror, but like such a big leap from the end of episode 2 to where we're at this episode. But I like it.
Yeah, and interesting because it just happened in the span of an episode. Like you, as soon as you said episode 2, I was like, oh wow, that was episode 2, right? That was literally like last week.
Yeah.
We were talking, and then now we have freaking Darth Vader and Palpatine, and then Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia. So yeah, it's a very man, this movie, it just leaves you on kind of like, you go through that hurt, from the moment ObiWan standing like Superman to like now, like up until that scene, before Padme gives birth, it's just like hurt, just hurt. And then she gives birth to the hope that we have left. I saw a video. It was really cool that Padme's last words tied directly into Leia's words in Rogue One, and she says, I think she's talking about Luke, and she says, there's good in him. Like, I know there's good in him. There's still, and then she dies, and then Leia's first words, as soon as she gets the plans for the Death Star or whatever, is hope. So there's still hope. And so, yeah, it kind of just plays, right into one another because, no, after this, okay, I was gonna say because like Rogue One, but Rogue One is after, or no, Rogue
It
One
is
would
after
be,
this.
yeah, it
It's
would be after
in
this,
between
right?
this and episode 4.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so as soon as you see that, and then you see Leia, and the first words are hope, because hope is not gone in this movie. So yeah,
Just
it was
to
a very,
even further what
yeah,
we've been talking about with these two final scenes is like these two scenes also perfectly set up the light side versus dark side for the original trilogy for episodes 4, 5, and 6, because you have Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia, and you have really the birth of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. So not only is it an interesting way that they concluded this trilogy, but also like it sets up the whole original trilogy, which is where like I know people like to trash on these movies and compare them to the sequels and whatever. What I've always
yeah,
said is like these movies do an amazing job of telling the proper story that they needed to. And the continuity between these 3 episodes into 4, 5, and 6, I think they handled it amazingly. And
yeah,
like story-wise, I think it's phenomenal how they were able to tell these 3 movies, this trilogy, and tie it into the original one. I think they did a phenomenal job. And yeah, those last couple scenes definitely like they tie in extremely well to
yeah,
where the rest of the Star Wars universe goes.
yeah, and the ending is, I said I liked Attack of the Clones ending the best, but this ending is just like it's just beautiful, like just the staring over Tatooine, because we know that when A New Hope comes around, that Tatooine's an important planet, in Star Wars history, and so just seeing little Luke, baby Luke sitting there and looking at the sunset and the Force theme. I don't know, I didn't write it down, but I guarantee the Force theme was being played in that scene. It's just such a good ending, for the story that the prequels were trying to tell, and yes, leading right up into the original, setting up the perfect alley oop. And so yeah, I mean, I have right here beautiful ending, and it's all caps, just beautiful. It's the
It
best
was.
way you could have ended this. So yeah, and then we also get Yoda telling Kenobi about Qui-Gon, and says that And this is very important to the road to Kenobi, because he tells Kenobi he has some training for him while he's in Tatooine watching over Luke, and that's learning how to contact Qui-Gon Jinn. It would be a shame if they didn't have this in Kenobi. There's no way you can have Revenge of the Sith say that. There's no way you can have Yoda say that and just not show us Kenobi, training to contact Qui-Gon and talk to Qui-Gon. There's no way.
That you can't. And like, it could be. Do you think that this is just like one of those coincidences? Because I feel like that has happened before in Star Wars, where they write something into a movie and then all of a sudden it's like really significant in a future project. Because I think, isn't that basically how the Clone Wars happened? Is in Episode 4, Luke is like asking ObiWan like, oh, you were a part of the Clone Wars, and he says like, I fought with your father or whatever, and boom, 7-season show. Like, I think it's just another one of those things where, like, obviously this is a much smaller thing, but they're bringing something up where now we're about to see the entire story take place for what happened between Episode 3 and probably up towards close to the start of Episode 4. Like, to be honest, we probably will, miss some of that time, but we're gonna see a lot of what happens, and I feel like it has to tie in. I am a little concerned that this Episode 3 to 4 gap is gonna get super clustered with how many stories are being told, because like obviously we've had a ton of the animated stuff cross over a little bit into that territory, and we've had Rogue One, Solo, and just like all of these things.
Andor coming up.
And it's like, at what point is the layers going to be too thick where they're just like, we really want to tell this story, but we can't because of some other reasons.
Plot holes and
yeah. I mean, they're bringing in the Inquisitors. We have a young Luke. We have all these things, and it's like, I hope they can pull it off.
Yeah, I hope so too, because once you start doing all that, you start opening a whole bunch of like, you're just going to be tiptoeing around like what you can and can't do because of like continuity and stuff. So I guess we will see. I was going to say, so I'm glad you actually brought that up, because when I wrote down like Qui-Gon and how Yoda was talking to him about Qui-Gon reaching out through the Force, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, there's no way they knew they were going to prep for Kenobi show back then. Just like a dumb little line, because obviously there wasn't. But I know people are about to turn their podcasts off, turn their phone off. So Breaking Bad does is really good. Look, I've been obsessed with all this.
I should have known you were
any chance I can get, I'll do it. Anyway, so their lawyer, Better Call Saul, right? Saul Goodman. In Breaking Bad, this isn't really a spoiler. In Breaking Bad, they capture him. They're like, no, we want to get answers from him. He needs to represent us. So they put masks on Walt and Jesse, and they tie him up and they take him out to the desert, and they dig a little hole for him to like bury him in. And they just start interrogating him, and they're like, oh, do this. And he says, it wasn't me. It was Ignacio. Did Lalo send you? And they're like, what? No. And he's like, are you with the cartel? And they're like, no. And he's like, oh, thank God. Right? And that was in like 2013, 2014, right? A long time ago, very long time ago. So in Better Call Saul, literally a couple weeks ago, we just got what that line meant with Ignacio Varga and Lalo. And in season 5, we get introduced to Lalo, all because of that one little line, and now like these next couple of weeks and how season 6 ends of Better Call Saul has to play into like that line he said, because now it's like, well, is Lalo dead? Like, is Lalo alive? Why a couple years later is he still worried about Lalo? Because this is obviously a prequel. And so what I love about what the writers did with that is they saw a little line, oh, are you Ignacio? Oh, name dropping the cartel, Lalo, Ignacio Varga, and bringing them all back and putting faces to the characters. I mean, Scorpion from Spider-Man Homecoming, he plays the character of Ignacio Varga, Nacho. And so I think his name is Michael Mando or Michael
Morbius.
Maldo.
Sorry, every time I hear Michael, I just think Dr. Michael Morbius. I mean, I can't help myself. It's ingrained in my mind now. Every time I go on TikTok, it's just Morbius sweep, Peak Bias, Dr. Michael Morbius,
Oh,
Marvel
man.
Legend. I can't help it.
Dude, that crack. Oh, that got me. No, that got me. Anyways, yeah, Michael Morbius. But yeah, just writers seeing those kind of things in old shows, and especially with prequels, you kind of got to do that. You got to grab at the bits and make a whole story about this. So yeah, it was cool. That what could have been seen as a throwaway line, or just they probably just said, "Hey, let's set up Force Ghosts. We have to find a way somehow." Now we're getting the Kenobi show, and now they're like, "Oh, well, we need Liam Neeson back," So, yeah. So I caught that, and I even have in my notes that Qui-Gon has to be in Kenobi. So
Yeah.
going off of that, I'll kind of sidetrack a little bit, and I'll give you my fact of the week. Don't think I
Okay.
forgot. I'll give you my little fact of the week. Did you know originally in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, a young Han Solo was going to make an appearance, and he was going to be living in Kashyyyk amongst the Wookiees?
I did not. And that's how he
Yeah.
built his relationship with Chewie.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's I wonder how late they decided not to go with that, because I'm still thinking of the Michael Morbius thing. Uh, yeah, I'm interested to see how late it was in filming, because the Millennium Falcon makes a little appearance. It's like very little at the bottom of the screen. It's in one shot, I'm guessing, on Coruscant, and you just see the Millennium Falcon driving by.
Mhm.
So if they kept that in, they could have just been like, "Oh, it's a cool little Easter egg," but could show that they actually, wanted Han Solo to be in here, a young Han Solo, which would have been interesting,
Yeah.
because we know the CGI isn't that good around these times of movies. So, like, would they have de-aged him? I don't know.
I don't think they would have gotten Harrison, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you bring that up, because we talk about how, like, when they say things now, it kind of like it can put them into a place where they have to include it in like the future of stuff. Because, like, think about if a young Han was in this movie, because then probably like there would have been there would have to be some sort of connection to Han and Chewie in the Kenobi show, or even
Yeah.
the Han Solo movie would have to be like completely different.
Yeah.
And like how the littlest things could like completely change future projects. And I feel like with Breaking Bad, maybe they were grasping at straws.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did set it up, because I feel like from what I've heard of the show, that they put a ton of effort and care into like all the details like that.
Yeah.
Whereas with Star Wars, like, it's been 17 years since Revenge of the Sith. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that they made that line in preparation for a Kenobi show that was coming
Yeah,
out in
no.
2022. But it is still cool that like it not only does it like force them to have to do certain things, but also with where the characters are and where the characters will be, it allows them to do a lot of things, which I think is
Yeah.
cool. And there's a lot of stuff that I hope we see in the Kenobi show. And I know that we do this every week.
Yeah.
So I think since this is our final Road to Kenobi episode, I don't want us to say like, oh, some characters we want to come back, because I feel like we've touched on like basically
About
everything.
all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want from all of the content that could potentially be in the Kenobi show, what is one thing that you want to be in it? Because I already have an answer for this, and it could be anything. It could be a location, it could be a character, but it's not limited to just the prequels. Anything that could potentially show up in the Kenobi show. And if you need a second to think, I do have my answer picked.
Okay. See, this one's difficult, because
It
my
is.
my immediate answer would be, I want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. But we're getting that twice. We're getting the rematch of the century twice, already confirmed. So going off of that, I know we're gonna get flashbacks, but I want to see. I'll go on a wild one right here.
Go for it.
I not only want to see Clone Wars flashbacks with Anakin and Obi-Wan, but I want you to throw Ahsoka Tano in there.
Ooh.
I want you to throw Ahsoka Tano in there, and I want you to show Clone Wars flashbacks of Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka all together.
They probably will. Like, I mean, they threw her into Book of Boba Fett. They're filming. I mean, they're filming the Ahsoka show now, but it seems like they're willing to just put her in stuff now.
Yeah.
I think that'll happen.
I'd be so down to see that. And if not Ahsoka, I mean, just give us flashbacks. Like, build their relationship more. We've seen it built in the Clone Wars. Build it in live action. Show us the good old. Show us just Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. Sorry, just laughing it up, improvising. Just show us them having fun. Show Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, and just fill me up with Hayden Christensen. I'll take all the Hayden Christensen content that you give me.
Yes. So
right.
I'm not going for like a person or a character. I'm going for more of a location.
Oh, okay.
And this might surprise you. We've technically seen it in live action. I believe it was in Rogue One. I want to see Darth Vader's castle in this show.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love it because I'm pretty positive that we are getting another fight in some sort of like lava fiery planet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's happening.
Yeah.
I would love it if somehow like it was I don't know how this would happen, but like imagine Obi-Wan gets like captured and is like trapped in Darth Vader's castle and has to escape and like a duel there, like that whole thing. I would love that. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, and you say like Obi-Wan getting captured, but like the most recent trailer, we literally see him like as soon as they show Vader being put together, they show a close-up on Obi-Wan, and he has his hands, I'm assuming, it's been a while since I watched the trailer, but he has his hands behind his back, and he's surrounded by like guards and stormtroopers, I believe. Don't take me up on this. I don't want to make another edit popping in here saying I got something wrong. Dude, last week I had to pop in twice, so I don't know, but yeah, I feel like we see a close-up on his face where he's basically captured, and you just hear the and you hear Vader's breathing. And so you might be onto something right there, him being captured, and maybe that's in Vader's castle, like I think that'd be super dope.
Well, we did. Yeah, we saw that in Rogue One where he was like, getting his helmet on and everything in his castle. So wherever, I forget whatever the officer's name is in Rogue One. It's not Tarkin.
Man.
It's not Tarkin. It's the other one. The other guy.
I feel like it starts with like a K or something. Like Krennic.
Krennic. Yeah.
There we go.
Krennic. Yeah. Whenever he is kind of there, like in Darth Vader's castle, he's sitting there, and then like the big door opens and Vader comes out.
Yeah.
So I think we could easily see that location pop up again. And I also think that's a great example of like something that was brought up that now, it's realistic that in this time period, Darth Vader would potentially be there. And I think that's just a cool thing to explore. So I hope that we see Darth Vader's castle.
Yeah. And all right, I'm gonna get to something right now. It's maybe a little spoiler, but I won't say it, but I will say you might be onto something. I don't know if this is confirmed, but I will say you might be onto something in terms of Vader's castle and Vader in a bacta tank. So I was gonna go full spoilers, but I'm gonna hold myself back. For the sake of everybody. But yeah, you're definitely onto something with the bacta tank, and that's all I'll say. And I'll say we'll definitely see it. If reports are right, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about. If it is true, the May 27th, because we're getting the first 2 episodes. So yeah, and we'll see if what I'm talking about is true. I might put a little post out about that on TikTok, because I've been meaning to like spread the news, but
people need to talk about people need to talk more about Kenobi. I'm not seeing
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, 2 of the biggest shows of the year are coming out on May 27th. Stranger Things season 4, I guess it's just volume 1,
Yeah.
and the first 2 episodes of Kenobi start, and like nobody is talking about it like at all. I
Yep.
see more people talking about Miss Marvel than I see people talking about Kenobi. I see people talking about Michael Morbius more than I see people talking about Kenobi. So I
Yeah.
want to promote the hype for this more.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not being talked about enough, and I hope this road to Kenobi has like been really good for the people who are excited about it and
Yeah.
wanting to like kind of get prepped for the show, because for a long time Star Wars fan, this is like,
This is
for me, this is big,
Yeah.
like it's so different than any other franchise, because like for Marvel, we're getting 10 plus Marvel projects every single year between shows and movies and stuff. Whereas with Star Wars,
It's every once in a while.
it's every once in a while. We've been lucky lately for getting like a live action show every year with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But this year we're supposed to get what, 4 shows? Like, aren't we supposed to get Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor, and Mando season 3 by the end of this year?
So yeah, that's what people for sure. Andor this year. I know Mandalorian likes dropping those Christmas time / Thanksgiving time episodes. So yeah, and I totally forgot we already got Book of Boba Fett this year. Damn, February felt a long
It
time away.
started at the beginning of this year. I'm pretty sure it was like first week of the year, or maybe it was
4
last.
shows.
It might have been last week of December that it started.
Oh
but
yeah,
like,
but yeah,
it still counts.
it was December 29th. So
maybe the Mandalorian will be similar, where it's like kind of the start of next year.
yeah,
But still, yeah, we're getting more content recently. But I feel like out of all of the shows that we're getting, this is kind of like, it's probably the most important one. Like the Boba Fett one is cool because they introduced him in The Mandalorian and they told a really interesting story. The Mandalorian has been its own thing and it's been phenomenal. Ahsoka, I think, is going to be amazing as well because she has such a big character arc throughout the Clone Wars and everything.
Yeah.
But of all of them, Kenobi holds the most weight. And if they don't pull this one off, Star Wars fans are going to... I mean, Star Wars fans are already, heated all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be good. I'll be curious when May 27th hits and I start seeing everybody going Kenobi mid, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's going to happen, though. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It happens every time. There's going to be that group of people that just immediately say, like, oh, Star Wars is an L, this is terrible. And I hope they pull it off, but I will be very disappointed if they don't.
I feel like Book of Boba Fett, a lot of people were saying the same thing. They were saying they can't mess up Book of Boba Fett. And then it kind of happened, but I mean, I've been seeing apparently the ending of Kenobi got leaked. I haven't read it. I read it, but nothing stuck with me really. I'd have to go reread it. But if it's true, not a lot of people like it. I mean, a lot of people are already, like, from the people I've watched and seen that have read the leaks and kind of like broke them down and know way more Star Wars than me. Yeah, they're not liking it.
So gosh, already.
That's if it's true. I mean, there were some leaks about Book of Boba Fett that said like Kira was supposed to come, and then like Han Solo, like and everyone took it as like legit up until it wasn't. And so, and then again, Star Wars doesn't always leak with their like Star Wars doesn't leak easy. When they do, it's very little. Like I truly believe that episode 2 thing I'm talking about with, like, what I was hinting at. I believe that's true. It's gonna happen, and I'm gonna have to make sure I record my reaction to it because it's gonna be huge. So, but even then, it's like very small. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna listen to those leaks because I don't know how legit the source is. Again, I have to go reread them. But yeah, I mean, they really can't mess this up. And on that note, I want to say 2 quick things. One, obviously Kenobi holds the most weight, right? However, I think when it's all said and done, the Ahsoka show is going to be the best Disney Plus show.
Whoa.
I'm talking Marvel, DC, I'm talking everything. I think
wow.
I think Ahsoka is going to be the best.
I mean, okay.
Look, I know you've watched Rebels, right?
I haven't watched Rebels.
You haven't?
I know I need to.
No.
But
So
okay, I know a lot of what happens and like
yeah,
the stuff that they hinted at in season 2 of The Mandalorian, like where things
yeah,
are going.
yeah,
I understand to that extent, but I have not
yeah.
watched Rebels.
So definitely watch Rebels because Thrawn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you with another hot take. I wouldn't drink your water. I'll wait till you're done drinking your water. You'll probably
I'm
spit
done.
it
I'm
out.
done. I'm done.
Because you'll probably just.
I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, I'm more excited to see Grand Admiral Thrawn than I am to see Darth Vader.
Okay, I thought I knew what you were about to say, but that is not it. That is not it.
Hayden Christensen is a different story. Anakin Skywalker, give it to me. I'm so ready for it. I'm more excited to see Grand Admiral Thrawn than I am to see Darth Vader on live action, first appearance, coming after, like, you know, he's with spoilers alert for Rebels if you haven't watched it. 3, 2, 1. You know, he's with Ezra. We don't know what happened after the season finale of Rebels, and Ahsoka and Sabine are on the lookout for him. So Ahsoka and Sabine want to go find him. We got Ezra live action, we got Thrawn live action, we got Hayden Christensen confirmed for Ahsoka, and we got Clone Wars flashbacks confirmed for Ahsoka live action. That's everything right there. That's my favorite Star Wars villain. That's my favorite Star Wars character, all in one show. If not the best, I think it'd be my favorite.
And Dave Filoni is like heavily involved in it, which I think is going to be really good because he just has such a great track record of like the episodes that he's directed of some of these shows recently have been phenomenal. I'm pretty sure he was the one who directed Book of Boba Fett episode 6, which was like easily the best episode in the show. Yep. So I trust in Filoni. Yeah. I will say, like you said, best Disney Plus show. I would say like my top 2 right now would be The Mandalorian at the top and Moon Knight as second, if we're comparing both Marvel and Star Wars. I'm hoping that Kenobi would take the top spot, but honestly, for me, Mandalorian's hard to beat. Like
Mandalorian is really hard to beat.
2 amazing seasons, full seasons, and like what they were setting up with season 3, I thought was phenomenal. A potential like return to Mandalore and like a lot of cool stuff that they were setting up. So, I mean, I know I need to watch Rebels beforehand.
Yeah,
but I don't know. We'll see. Is there like a release date for Ahsoka? Is it supposed to be a next year show?
For a while, before production started, a lot of people were saying December. A lot of people were saying like late 2022. And then Mandalorian came up saying like, oh, we'll probably finish in the summer. So I think Mandalorian is going to take that spot because, like I said, they like those winter holiday releases. So Ahsoka would probably fall where Book of Boba Fett finished, which would be like February 2023, if not anywhere from like February to June, I'd say, for Ahsoka, because they're starting production now. Let's say they finish in 6 months, that would be September, and then they do all the posts everything, and then they start teasing it out around like November, December. Expect it probably like February, anywhere around early 2023. So yeah. But but yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. One other little thing, another little fun fact, I guess. I believe I saw this on TikTok. I can't really remember how I can't really remember all the details, but I think it said Hayden Christensen is 41 years old right now, right?
Okay.
So Anakin was born, I think it was 41 BBY or ABY. Can't really remember. So that means I don't know if you've seen the pictures or videos of Anakin or Hayden Christensen on press tour with Ewan McGregor. The way he looks right now, that is a Darth Vader when he is that's a Darth Vader uninjured, taking his helmet off to look at Luke Skywalker. That's how Vader would look. You know what I'm saying? Because he's 41 years old. He's the same age as whenever. Yeah, he's the same age as canon Darth Vader right now. So that's how Darth Vader would look if he never got injured and was the same actor from all those years. So I thought that was pretty cool because it kind of took me back because someone had commented on the TikTok. They were like, guys, you're looking at Darth Vader if he never got injured, and they explained why. And yeah, I was like, oh wow, like dang, that's like I was kind of just like for some reason I just
Yeah.
like took me out. So I was like, oh wow. So shout out to Hayden Christensen, man, hasn't aged a day. He looks amazing.
He
But
does.
the real reason we're here, had to put on my Kenobi shirt. So
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
Yeah, I'm
Park.
repping. I'm repping.
You should have wore a Morbius shirt.
More. I was gonna say. Do they have Michael Morbius shirts? I will get one. I will. I'll get two.
Man. Dude, that's hilarious. I'm keeping that whole sequence in.
You have
But
to.
yeah, I have to.
I'm more excited to see Michael Morbius than I am to see Darth Vader.
Yeah. Get that one.
Morbius 2 is gonna be better
Yeah.
than Ahsoka. Like,
Morbius 2 takes the cake. You're gonna make
yeah.
$2 more billion. All right. With that,
We need to rate. We need to rate
Oh
the movie.
yeah.
Yeah. We have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go first this time because I feel
Okay.
like I usually give like my kind of hot-ish take,
Yeah.
and then you
Well,
go. But
you're brutally honest, so I'm kind of like I'll always, get overcome with like personal enjoyment. But
should we separate this between like a personal rating and like a legitimate unbiased rating?
yeah, we'll do that. So my personal rating of this movie, based on personal enjoyment, 9 out of 10, dude. Like it's amazing. I'd even venture to say like 9.5 out of 10. I just love this movie. It's Anakin's story. Like I said, the fall of Anakin Skywalker is my favorite story in all of Star Wars. And I think Mandalorian comes right behind him. Those are two characters that I absolutely adore. I love Anakin Skywalker as a character, and which is why I'm like so hyped for Kenobi. So everything in that movie all put together, solid low 9 to mid 9 out of 10. As a movie, it does kind of like still suffer from those same mistakes the past two movies made, and I found myself wondering like how this movie would like look and feel if it was made today, because like, man, can you just imagine like using, like imagine Rise of Skywalker, but if it was Revenge of the Sith, like everything they used in there.
I thought you were about to say if it was good.
Well, that too. Imagine Rise of Skywalker feels good. It'd actually be a cool movie to watch. But yeah, like I kept thinking, like, imagine how this movie would look. So I get it. Like a lot of the things are like things that were just out of their control. So with that being said, I would give it a low to mid 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, take it.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, like this is the one where we like are most similar. So I personal rating, yeah, I'm right there, like 9.5. Like it's my favorite Star Wars movie, and if I was just gonna turn on any Star Wars movie to watch, it's probably this one. I love this movie. Now, yeah, there are some factors that go into it that bring it down a little bit. I would still venture like an 8 or an 8.5. Like,
wow.
I think this movie's amazing. Like, it's a big step up from 1 and 2 in my opinion. And yeah, I love the movie. I think it's great.
Yeah, and with that, we have the highest rated out of the prequels. Very well deserved. There's not much you could say about this movie. I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot
that we could say.
There's a lot we could say.
We did just say a lot.
We did just say, but at the end of all that, there's not much you could say to wrap it up. It's an amazing movie. Like we just said. And I had a ton of fun. And Kenobi is 2 weeks away.
I know.
I'm getting hyped, man.
I'm so excited, and we're probably gonna have discussions every single week on Kenobi.
Yep.
I know that you and Charlie will probably have discussions on it. And I know I'm gonna have discussions on it. We'll probably have discussions together. Like,
oh yeah,
it's gonna be amazing because I'm actually a big fan of the Friday release day. I didn't like when they switched it to Wednesday because that's like midweek, and I can't just like change around my schedule that easily to stay up for stuff. But like Fridays, oh yeah, I'm ready for it because then like attack the weekend with all these discussions. So there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff that we're doing here.
Yeah,
and it's gonna last for, I guess it'll last for technically 5 weeks, which feels so short. Like, because they're releasing 2 and it's only 6 episodes, but those better be 45 minutes at least.
Oh,
every episode, it better be.
Yeah, only 5 weeks because they're releasing the first two. Man, I can't wait. And I didn't realize. So the show I'm watching right now, like Better Call Saul, is coming out every week, but they're kind of splitting the final season into two. So after next week, I think next week or the week after is like the mid-season
Mid-season.
finale,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it will come out in July. And so like I've just been kind of like, dang, well, I've been binge watching it, and now I'm waiting week to week, and now I'm gonna have nothing for 6 weeks. But Kenobi is gonna
Oh
take up
yeah.
5 of those weeks. So even after that, I'm still gonna hit the ground running with Better Call Saul. So all of summer, I will say this, I I don't really care for Stranger Things at all.
Yeah.
I kind
I
of
get it.
just I did when like I remember 2019 when season 3 came out. I was in love with it, but I couldn't talk about it because I hadn't done this, and so I just
Yeah.
talked about it with a couple of my friends, and then I was like, I can't wait for season 4. 3 years later, I'm just kind of like, like I see everyone
Yeah.
hype about it, and I'm just kind of like, so I may or
Yeah.
may not check it out, So
I'm planning to watch it. I have
yeah,
heard that there have been people who were shown the first few episodes just to like give reactions to it, and it's apparently phenomenal and like worth the wait. I'm gonna check it out just because I did like the first 3 seasons, even though it
yeah,
has been 3 years. I'm gonna check out Kenobi before I check out Stranger
oh
Things, of
yeah,
course. Higher priorities.
yeah.
But I was also gonna tell you after Kenobi, you have Miss Marvel. Like you're fine. Like,
You talking to me?
yeah.
I think Miss Marvel is gonna be coming out with Kenobi.
For a
Um,
couple weeks, yeah,
yeah,
but
and
it'll be
then
on
after it'll
Wednesdays.
pass it up. I actually heard that they're gonna go back to the Wednesday after Friday, after the 2 episode premiere on Friday. It's episode 3 will be Wednesday, and then
Interesting.
it'll just stay with the Wednesday. That's what I heard. I only heard and then didn't look back into it. So I might have to double check because I don't want to send you on a roller coaster of emotions. But yeah, that will be interesting. If I had to guess, it'd probably to get Vader on the screen as soon as possible because there were rumors he'd be in episode 3 and on. So I feel like those first 2 episodes, that's why they chose a 2 episode release
Sure.
and other reasons. So yeah, that'll be very interesting. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll have to look more into that after this.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there we go. We got the Road to Kenobi finished. All we got to do is wait and enjoy some Kenobi in the next couple weeks. I'll definitely be having you back on. We'll probably have some more Kenobi
I'm
discussions,
sure we will.
whether it's immediately after the show or just discussions about it. For sure, we'll be back with the Road to Kenobi continued. So
Yes.
thank you, Ben, for joining. This was a blast, watching all these prequels again, even though sometimes it might have felt like you were dragging through it, just like watching Jar Jar Binks and falling asleep. At the end of the day, rewatching these was a ton of fun and even more fun talking about it with you. So, Ben, you kind of want to tell us what you're doing nowadays, and then we'll kind of close this up.
Yeah, I mean it's the same as always.
Yeah.
I'm making content, TikTok,
Yep.
YouTube, just constantly on the grind. But I mean, I think now honestly my focus is shifting a little bit. Like I want to focus a little less on making content and more on like making connections. So I'm hoping to continue to like reach out to more creators and
Yeah.
everything like that. I know we, started our little kind of community of people that are
Yeah.
gonna make content together. So I'm looking forward to that because honestly, yeah, what I've enjoyed way more than actually watching these movies is sitting down and having these discussions.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really fun to do this over the last few weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to Kenobi so we can continue to do it even more.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll make sure to put all his information in the link down below. You can find all of my socials there. You can find all of his socials there. I'll just link his link tree in there. And yeah, make sure to support him. We're going to be doing a lot of big things together. We're going to be having a lot of other people on board. If you want to check out everyone that's going to be on his future podcast, everyone that could be on mine and me and Charlie's, yeah, go ahead and check it out. How much harm can it do? So thank you again, Ben. I guess I'll be seeing you here soon, with,
Oh
with
yeah.
whatever it is, Kenobi or some Marvel news or whatever it may be. this is definitely not goodbye, but see
No.
you later. And
No.
same for y'all. I'll see y'all later. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.